I can't watch 3 new TV series a year based on Star Wars. I want one good movie every 5 to 6 years, and that's all you need to do for me. You don't need to be coming out with tons of movies. You don't need to come out with a shitty trilogy and then all these side character movies like Rebels or whatever, Rogue One and Han Solo, because Solo was a fucking bust, flop, whereas Rogue One was beautiful. Rogue One was so well written. Rogue One was such a neat, interesting, cool prequel idea for a movie that you could watch Rogue One, you can watch the original trilogy and be like, that's a 4 fucking movie franchise that's excellent. Ignore the stupid prequels. Definitely ignore the sequels. Oh Lord, I'm not even a Star Wars fan, but they completely fucked the sequel trilogy. They did. They did. The thing is like when they first started, they did. What was it? It was the seventh movie was called The Force Awakens. The Force Awakens, which was a J.J. Abrams movie, I believe, was so generic, but it was great because all it did was showed the Star Wars universe that they can make competent films. So it was generic, it was fun. There was little pieces here and there. It had enough Han Solo to get me excited. It had Chewbacca. You know, it had all that stuff, and it was like, and then Han Solo dies, and you get into Kylo Ren, and you're like, ooh, what's the Knights of Ren? What is this? You know, I want to know more now because, yes, it's generic, and it's kind of a retelling of A New Hope, and it's just pretty much the same damn movie all over again, but with new CG and new characters and new actors and stuff. That it was done well enough to go like, oh, okay, it was a competent film. I want to see more. And they fucking botched that so bad with the eighth and ninth episodes of that trilogy that it sucked. Like it was just so bad. Ryan, whatever his name is, Ryan Johnson, I think his name is Rian Johnson. Oh, what a miserable film eight was, and what a just generic, boring movie nine was. It was just fucking bloodbath, just terrible Star Wars. Worse than the prequels, in my opinion. And I can't believe they followed up Force Awakens with that. They did Force Awakens and then they did Rogue One. And Rogue One was enough with the original trilogy that I was so excited. I'm like, Disney's not going to botch this. Like, this is actually really good filmmaking, and it's fucking terrible. Like, everything they've done since then has been bad. Outside of Mandalorian, and I know there's the other show, the Boba Fett ones, and then there's something else. Oh, there's a Han Solo, or I'm sorry, Obi-Wan TV series. Don't even get me started. I haven't watched any of it. I've watched one season of Mandalorian, but when episode 8 and 9 came out of the Star Wars universe, I was so blown up and so disappointed in everything Star Wars, I just stopped watching it. So I've not seen anything since. I haven't seen any of the Mandalorian seasons 2 or 3. I haven't watched the Boba Fett stuff. I haven't watched the Obi-Wan stuff. I've heard they're really good. I've heard there's that some other show too that was really good. But I don't care. It's like I'm so exhausted from most Disney stuff now that Marvel and Star Wars, just neither one interests me at all anymore. Could be new shows, could be new movies, could be new whatever. I just don't care. Like, I just don't care. I'm not going to watch it. If it's got the word Star Wars on it, I will probably just say, like, yeah, maybe someday. I want something new to come out and catch my eye and, like, reinvigorate that love I have for Star Wars. Maybe even the Marvel Universe, too. But, like, I want something to really, really get me excited for Star Wars again so that I can say, like, holy fuck, and now there's all these TV shows I can watch. Like, oh my God, I'm so excited. I didn't watch Mandalorian. I didn't watch Boba Fett. I didn't watch Obi-Wan. I didn't watch any of this other stuff. Like, I have all this stuff to catch up on now. And that'll be great when that moment happens. But right now, I'm just not there. I'm just not even close to there. So let me catch up on the chat. Yeah, The Last Jedi completely killed Star Wars. Well, they got screwed for the ninth because the eighth killed off Luke and Snoke. Dude, yeah. The ninth one sucked because of how bad 8 was, but they didn't do anything to fucking fix it or anything. Season 3 of Star Trek Picard, however, the most amazing and emotional redemption season I've ever seen. Okay, I want a new good Star Wars game. When was the last time we had a good one of those? Battlefront 2 and PS2. Picard was awesome. Or Force Unleashed and PS2. Okay, Picard. Are we talking about this shit now? Are we doing this? Picard. I watched all 3 seasons. I love it. I am starting to get into Strange New Worlds. I've actually really taken a backseat, or a backseat, is that the right word? I've really taken a break from watching any new series in a while. I just finished Scott Pilgrim, the new series on Netflix, which, if you're a big Scott Pilgrim fan, we could talk about that. I don't know if you are or not. I love Scott Pilgrim. Like, I fucking love it. God's Fire, you have an interesting perspective because I will agree. Well, first off, there's a lot of shit that's out there that's insulting to Star Trek. you've ever seen Star Trek Genesis or Nemesis or whatever the fuck it's called, that's the worst thing that's ever happened to Star Trek. So Picard seasons 1 and 2, or Star Trek 5 with Shatner directing. No, Star Trek has been through shit before. Seasons 1 and 2 of Picard are fine. But season 2 is genuinely garbage. Like, it is. I toughed it out to get to season 3 because I heard how great season 3 was. Season 1 of Picard is pretty damn good. For the most part, there's some really rough moments in it for sure, but overall, I enjoyed it. But season 2 is not fun to sit through. I toughed it out, got through it. Once season 3 hit, I was so fucking happy because you could tell immediately the energy was back, the excitement was back. You could do a seasons 1 and season 3 with just like a snippet of what happened in season 2 because really none of it pertains to anything. You could just touch on it here to like get to know it and then jump right into season 3 because seasons 1 is good, season 3 is spectacular. Star Trek Nemesis is laughably horrible. I low key love it. You're crazy. If I want to watch Star Trek, what should I watch? Swankmaster. Holy shit. Oh my god. Star Trek? Dude, I saw Nemesis in theaters besides my cousin. There were only two other people in the entire theater. Nemesis is garbage. Swankmaster, Deep Space Nine's good. You like the movies. Okay. So we have had this discussion. Dorkfather, myself, and Xavier Michaels have had a bunch of talks about Star Trek. I can tell you right now what my favorite Star Trek film ever made is. My favorite Star Trek movie is the motion picture, which is Star Trek 1. I absolutely love the movie. I think it's got enough 80s touch and references to it where it feels kind of like those 80s Steven Spielberg movies. Like you think of a little bit of E.T., a little bit of that 80s style, Flight of the Navigator. It's just so good, but it is very slow and it is very dated. So like, you could watch Next Generation. If you want good TV for Star Trek, watch Next Generation and then watch. You could start to watch Strange New Worlds. I've loved Strange New Worlds so far, but I'm only halfway through the first season, so it's going to take me a bit to get through it. Or if you want to really find a good show that's like Star Trek but isn't Star Trek, watch The Orville. The Orville is wonderful. Like I absolutely adore The Orville. It's so good. It's so good that even in spite of it being a what's his McFarland, it's not Todd McFarlane, Seth MacFarlane. Yeah, even in spite of it being a Seth MacFarlane creation, The Orville is still excellent. And I'm not a big Seth MacFarlane fan, but The Orville is excellent. Like it is very good TV. If you've never watched it, it's on Hulu. There's 3 seasons of it, I think, maybe 4. No, I think it's 3. All good TV though. It's really well done. It's a really well done Star Trek show. The Orville, yes. There are several episodes in season 2 that are directed by Jonathan Frakes. And Jonathan Frakes is a spectacular Star Trek director. He is the one who did Star Trek First Contact. So, how do we feel on Star Trek Enterprise? Oh, God. Enterprise. There's moments in Enterprise that's really good. And I will be honest. It was cut short because Fox was basically trying to cancel everything that wasn't profitable at the time. So, it's the one series of Star Trek that didn't go a full 7 seasons. Next Generation did, Deep Space Nine did, Voyager did, but Enterprise I think was cut short at 3 or 4 seasons. Other than the original Star Trek series, which I think only ran 2 seasons or something like that. Okay, Star Trek though, and I'm not a big Trekkie. I'm actually not a huge Trekkie fan, but I love Star Trek. Like I just love the lore of it. I love the communists, the socialism world. Enterprise got thrown under the bus. It had potential, but the producers screwed it. And by the time they got a new director, it was 3/4 of it. Yeah, agreed. Agreed. They had some different ideas to get it edgier and into a new generation of Star Trek fans. And yeah, it wasn't Scott Bakula's fault. He was a fine captain. It's just the show fell pretty hard. Enterprise had its ups and downs. Thanks, A. Alicia. Like you know what the fuck we're talking about. So anyway, let's see. If you are new to Star Trek, so you love the movies, but you want to see what show to watch, I mean, you could watch Next Generation. I think Next Generation is my favorite series, and I like the Strange New World so far. I'm a gigantic Star Trek fan. I watched from the Next Generation, Voyager, Enterprise, and then saw DS9 years later, which blew my mind. The cast and crew tried so hard to make that work. I wanted it to be good so bad. So you thought Deep Space Nine was the best of this series, God's Fire? I'll be honest. I liked Deep Space Nine a lot. When I was a kid, I liked it the best. But somewhere along the line, I just kind of fell off because it didn't feel epic enough to me. And if that sounds stupid, correct me because maybe I don't know what I'm talking about. But I thought the Next Generation was epic because like worlds were being saved because of them. Voyager was this little show of a little ship that kind of interacted with things and saved people and did little things here, but nothing really was enormously earth-shattering until the end, where fucking spoiler alert, but there was a huge ending of Voyager that had one of the greatest moments of the entire fleet of not Enterprise fleet, but it had like the entire fleet of the USS, all the different Star Trek ships. It was so good. The ending of Voyager is amazing. It was a big giant battle with the Borg, and it was just such a fucking well done, well done series finale that Voyager went from being pretty decent to great because of the series finale. It was the best way to go out, like ever. It was so well done, and it. Yes, Voyager got a great send off. Yes, and I wasn't expecting it. The first few seasons were a bit early, Next Generation-y, but once Worf came on and into the end of season 3, things get really good, and the last 2 seasons are a masterpiece. I need to rewatch it. Okay, maybe I do need to rewatch it. That's so cool. Like that is so exciting to me. That's all on Paramount Plus, I believe, right? So like maybe I do need to rewatch Deep Space Nine. That would be great. Because that is totally something I can put on and just enjoy in the background or kind of half watch and then get into once moments are heated up and stuff. That would be a really cool thing to get into because I do love Star Trek. And I liked Voyager. I loved the ending. Next Generation was always my favorite because I love the characters. I just love Riker and Picard and Geordi and Data. Like the crew is so good. It's just so good, and that went right into the movies too. And if you're looking for movies to watch, Swank Master, I think the first Star Trek is my favorite. Next Generation. I'm sorry. This is the see how I can distract Josh from playing video game stream. Yes, we'll just sit and talk about comics and sci-fi all night. But someone had said Rebel Moon was a bad movie, or they said something negative about it. I actually have a slight counterpoint to that. If you ever wanted to watch Rebel Moon, it's a Zack Schneider Star Wars movie, basically. It's on Netflix. So if you have Netflix, there's no reason not to watch it. It's almost 3 hours long and it feels longer, but it's pretty good. I actually didn't hate it. It's good science fiction. It's just good science fiction, I thought, for the most part. But like, so yeah, once Worf arrives, DS9 becomes spectacular. All right. All right. Maybe I'll need to get back into it again. I just remember it. I just remember like, I love the episodes that are like, they make you think and like they're solving things and they're coming up with new ideas and new theories and character building and stuff like that's great, but it never felt like it was the end of the world. Like it never felt like anything was major happening. Like if DS9 never happened, would anything change in the Star Trek universe? I don't know. I also used to play the Star Trek card games, the Decipher series of Next Generation and stuff like that. So I used to really get into Star Trek um, to the Next Generation. I mean, I loved all Star Trek, but okay. Anyway, so if we're talking movies, um, most people when they think of the original series, they always go right to the Wrath of Khan. I'm actually one of those that don't because I thought Wrath of Khan was really well done, and I love that it's based on a sequel to one of the episodes of one of the best episodes of the original Star Trek show. I love it. It's a good movie, but it's not as good as the first movie, I don't think. The first movie is all about reestablishing everyone and like, oh, we're older now, and look at here's the ship, and let's go on a mission, let's do this thing, like one last time, and they're like, let's do it, and then who was to know that it would have been sequel upon sequel? But the second one is Wrath of Khan, which is really good. Star Trek 3, The Search for Spock, very good movie, but it's really just a sequel to Wrath of Khan, and it's not as good. I love 4. A lot of people will. There's a lot of love and hate for Star Trek 4, the Journey Home. That's the one where Star Trek basically comes to the U.S. in the '80s. It's funny. There's a lot of over the top ridiculousness, but it's so well done, and it's also directed. Star Trek 3 and 4 are both directed by Leonard Nimoy. That is one of the things that got Leonard Nimoy into directing. He was like I can direct. And like Star Trek 4 was so fun and it was so interactive. It's one of the reasons why after that he was like, I'm done doing Star Trek. I'm going to do 3 Men and a Baby. And he did a movie with, fuck, who was all in that? There will be whales here. But yeah, Leonard Nimoy went off to become a really good comedy director after Star Trek 4. 5, I think, is rough. Got a Commodore ad, executive fired. 5 is rough, but it is stupid. It's directed by William Shatner, and you can tell because he writes himself to look like the machoest man in the world. And then at the end, they go and have a conversation with God or a fake God on some asteroid. It's not great. Which then brings me to my second favorite Star Trek movie, Star Trek 5, Let's Meet God. Then, of course, brings me to my second favorite Star Trek movie, The Undiscovered Country. 6 is spectacular. It's a really good Star Trek movie that feels like it's a big budget actual movie. It's like Star Trek happened and it kind of did its thing. It's like every movie feels like a big episode of Star Trek and ridiculous things happen and then fucking 6 hits and it's like, "Oh, this is what Star Trek can be. This is big budget. This is awesome. It's like the end of the world. The fucking Klingons are becoming extinct. How do we do this?" Like, and then it's great. It's really well done. Lots of good action sequences. A very well done movie. 6 is what brought them back to the game and then that was it. Like that's the end of the original Star Trek series. That's your 6 movies. And then comes Next Generation, which they did more movies of. So there was Star Trek Generations, which was considered, I guess, kind of Star Trek 7, where somehow the original Star Trek series cast and crew meet the Next Generation cast and crew, and there's scenes with Picard and I was going to say Shatner, Picard and Kirk, and they're off battling the Nexus and oh, the one dude's like, I'm going to get us into the Nexus. It's going to be perfect. You'll be able to live in happiness forever. And then Picard, Jesus, no, Kirk, who is like Riker, but Kirk gets sucked into the Nexus and then he lives there for the rest of his eternity. And because Picard decides to go into the Nexus to go and save Kirk, he doesn't actually save Kirk. Matter of fact, he imagines getting out later, and nothing after Picard goes into the Nexus is ever canon again because he never leaves the Nexus. Everything that happens after that is just him dreaming of being in the Nexus. That's my fan theory, anyway. So anyway, they did, and by the way, after Star Trek Generations happened, they had considered Kirk the character dead or like lost in the Nexus forever. Don't worry though, Shatner wrote a book about how Kirk gets out of the Nexus. It's real. It's a legit thing. It's the worst thing too. Then the 8th Star Trek movie is First Contact, which then brings me to my third favorite Star Trek movie. It's either First Contact or Undiscovered Country. I guess I'm kind of back and forth on that one because First Contact is mind-blowingly good. It is another big budget. It feels like a high intensity action flick that's so well done, and it's all the same beautiful cast and crew. I saw Generations in theaters when I was 13. It pissed me off the way off they blew up the D. Oh yeah, it was why I was so happy to see it back. Yeah, I agree. Enterprise D. Yeah, so Enterprise or Generations is so I kind of was dogging on it when I was talking about it, but I actually like that movie. Like I think it's fun and it's kind of dumb and there's some bad parts in it, but overall it's a really good movie. First Contact to Star Trek, their take on aliens, it's really well done. I agree. I love First Contact because it talks a lot about when Earth comes in contact with aliens and like all of that, and it's super good. Like it's super fucking good. First Contact is awesome. Which may be my second favorite Star Trek movie. I don't know. It's either that or Undiscovered Country. But I was so happy to see it happen because it just felt like the right thing to do, which was the Jonathan Frakes directed Star Trek movie, which is fun because like they let their cast and crew come up with ideas, storylines. They write the storylines for their own TV show that they've been acting on forever, and then they can even direct them. Like Leonard Nimoy directed Star Trek 3 and 4. Shatner unfortunately directed 5. Jonathan Frakes directed 8 and then 9. So 9 was Insurrection. Insurrection, very good. Like it's very good. It's just very good, but nothing is great about it. It's pretty unremarkable because Star Trek 8, which is Insurrection, feels like a really awesome episode of the original Star Trek The Next Generation TV show. So like I don't hate on it. I don't think there's anything wrong with the movie, but it's after First Contact, it just felt like a fart. It was just like, huh. And then came Nemesis, which was fucking terrible, which I think was the ninth one at that time. And Nemesis is just shit. Like it's a rough movie to sit through. I had a hard time with it. Did not care for it in the least. Thought that was pretty much the end of Star Trek, which it kind of was for a long time. And then I think the 10th movie was the rebooting of Star Trek, which I think has gotten 3 movies in this series. There was Star Trek, which was the 10th one. I think Into the Darkness was 11. And then, oh shit, I don't remember the third one. But it's kind of dead. Like it's kind of dead in the water again. They did a trilogy. Each one got gradually worse. And then, actually, I remember the third one's not too bad. The second one I do not care for because they basically rewrote and tried to redo the Wrath of Khan story, and it was fucking bad with Benedict Cucumber Patch. Yes, they did. Okay, God's Fire's doing it. Here we go. First Contact is better than Generations, Insurrection, Nemesis. To this day, I still hate Nemesis. Thank God Picard season 3 overrode it. Yes, I agree. Nemesis is bullshit. But Nemesis has Worf and Picard running around in that go kart thing. Yes, in the sand dunes. Peak Star Trek right there. LOL. Yeah, you're LOLing all the way up to banned, my brother. Borg are freaky, scary bad guys. It was cool to see them crank the horror and suspense on them way more than they could in the show. First Contact is Star Trek's take on aliens. Yeah, I agree. There's some really good shit in the Star Trek universe. If you like the movies, I'd just try all the shows. Like, I mean, you guys are saying DS9's really good. I'd go with DS9. But I haven't heard anybody talking about Strange New Worlds. There's 2 seasons of Strange New Worlds out right now, and I've heard season 2 is spectacular. So maybe we got to jump into that. I got to get into that. I'll put some of that on. I'll put some DS9 on and try to like what was I trying to say? Recombobulate with you guys in a week and see where I'm at. But I love Star Trek. Star Trek is great. It's interesting too in the series of movies and TV shows now. Star Trek Discovery. Oh yeah. So nerd, what do you have in store for us today? I know. What was I going to do today? I was going to play a game, I think, of some sort. I've heard Star Trek Discovery is better now after 3 or 4 seasons. Like it started off really rough. The second season wasn't any better, but then it's gotten better since then. So maybe I'm wrong, but I've heard Discovery's gotten really good, which is good to hear because Picard was really well done, and so is Strange New Worlds. So today I was planning on playing Dead of the Brain on the PC Engine. It's a fun little game, and McLaren needs to help me get through it because we need to play it. Otherwise, I'm going to keep jumping into other games and then not paying attention to the games I've been playing. But the ratio of good to bad in the worlds of science fiction between Star Trek and Star Wars is now infinitely better on the Star Trek side of things. Perfect. I'm glad you got the guide. Thank you. Because Star Trek's movies, there are more good ones than bad ones. In the TV shows, there are more good ones than bad ones. If you want to call Discovery a pretty rough one, video games on a TV movie stream? What are you talking about? If you want to talk about the TV series, what is a bad one? Like a bad series like what Enterprise was overall not that great and like Discovery is considered pretty rough. Well, guess what? You've got the original series, you got Next Generation, you've got DS9, you've got Strange New Worlds, you got Picard. All great TV. Like that's so many good TV shows. And in the movie world, what are the bad Star Trek movies? Nemesis and 5? That's it that I can think of as far as bad ones. In Star Wars, you've got holy fuck, Battle for Endor. You've got Episode 2, Attack of the Clones. You've got The Last Jedi, the fucking Death of the Sith, or whatever the fuck the 9th one was. Like, there's so many bad Star Wars movies now, and just rough fucking world to try to rebound from. That I think Star Trek is the way to go in terms of which is better, which is a more profitable, more fun, energetic show to watch. I would rather sit and watch Star Trek than Star Wars infinitely right now, which is crazy because when I was a kid, I was completely the opposite. When all Star Wars was three movies and a bunch of video games and the fucking holiday special, I thought Star Wars was infinitely better than Star Trek because Star Trek 5 had come out and, you know, and then later on Insurrection happened and then it was like, oh God. Star Wars 1, 2, 7, 8, 9, Obi-Wan Solo. I think Rogue One was all right. I think Rogue One was all right. Oh, well, everyone has their own opinions. All bad. Star Wars. Oh, 1, 2, 7, 8, 9. See, I don't hate 7. I'm not a hater of 7. And actually, I don't hate 1. Um I don't hate 1 at all. I actually Phantom Menace I think is the best of the prequels. Attack of the Clones is rough. And then 8 and 9 are terrible. Obi-Wan's not good. Or I'm sorry, I have no idea if Obi-Wan is good. I never watched it. Solo is not good. Rogue One is awesome. I love Rogue One. I think you can watch Rogue One, 1, 2, and 3, and then you can watch The Force Awakens. And that's where I'd leave it. I'd just be done with it at that point. Don't watch anything else because you can do Rogue One, you can do episodes 4, 5, and 6, and then Force Awakens. So you watch Star Wars, Empire, Return of the Jedi, Force Awakens, and then Rogue One if you want to have it. That's your ideal 5-movie series where it's pretty fucking good. But everything else that exists in the Star Wars universe outside of that, trash. Just fucking trash at this point. It's sad. It's so sad. It's so sad and it's so weird. And so I watched Rebel Moon. The rumor is about that show, that movie, which is a 2-part movie on Netflix. Was that Zack Schneider proposed an idea to Disney and then said, "Hey, I've got a Star Wars story I'd like to tell." And they looked at it and said, "Nope. No, thank you, Zack Schneider. You can go somewhere else with it." So he went to Netflix and said, "Like, I'm going to take out some of this shit, but you're going to have lightsaber swords, and you're gonna make a Star Wars movie without it being a Star Wars." And I would say there's enough similarities to definitely say like, oh yeah, there's some ideas here that are very Star Warsian, but overall, it doesn't feel like it's a complete ripoff of Star Wars by any means. God's Fire said watch 2 and 3, Rogue One, 4, 5, and 6. Hmm. Wait, 2? Attack of the Clones? Nah, fuck that movie. That is shit. That is hot garbage. That is a F minus. That's the worst of all of them. Oh God, I don't know. The Rian Johnson one's pretty bad too. Oh, they're both so bad. And I still haven't seen Godzilla -1, my friend. I still haven't seen it. I know I gotta get. I haven't been to a movie theater in forever. The last movie I think I watched was probably Guardians 3. I think this last summer, wasn't it? I think. Hmm. Well, unfriended. Um, Zack Snyder's Rebel Moon is infinitely better than Ryan Johnson's Star Wars movies. I will say that. No matter what you want to say about Rebel Moon, it being whatever, it's a competent film. If it's slow and boring, sure. Welcome to the Snyderverse. Like his movies are really well done, slow motion cuts where it looks beautiful and there's huge action sequences that are awesome. But then you try to piece together the storyline and it's like, eh, it's okay. It's fine. I liked Rebel Moon though. I think overall, again, a good sci-fi flick. It's competent. There's going to be a sequel, so we get to see where exactly all of this is leading. They basically did the first movie is sort of like the Fellowship of the Ring. It's this big thing like dude's like, "Hey man, I need help doing this thing. My village is going to get killed." And then all these people start to join slowly. Every 20 minutes another person joins the party, another person joins the party, and then finally you got the full party and then it's like boom, to be continued. That's all Rebel Moon is. The first part is. I like it though. It's not bad. I actually enjoy movies where they're piecing together the party. That's why I said the Suicide Squad, the first one, is half of a good movie and half of a shit movie. Because when they're building that Suicide Squad and they finally have like their direction and what to do, and then the second half of the movie is that mission, like it falls apart once they've got the party together. Like I don't know. I like Fellowship of the Ring. I like Lord of the Rings. All right, Nerdman. Since we're on a sci-fi, what do you think of Dune? Oh, I need to introduce you to EFAP, Every Frame a Pause, video podcast channel on YouTube. It will have you look at movies in ways you never considered. As someone who hasn't read the books, the movie left me very confused. Oh, Dune. Okay. Sorry, I was reading that like it was one person saying all that. Swankmaster. Boy, do I have something to surprise you guys with because I've actually never seen Dune. I've never seen the original movie and I've never seen this new one. I kind of don't even know where to start. I think somewhere along the line when the first Dune came out, I mean, I'm an unintelligent guy. Let's just be honest. I don't think my intelligence level is very high. I liked when I was a kid. I liked explosions and boobs and action adventure. So I liked Stallone. I liked Terminator. I liked Mad Max. I love Mad Max. There's going to be a new Furiosa movie, a prequel, coming out next summer. There's going to be a fifth Mad Max movie. I am fucking all for it because Mad Max was hey, explosions and boobs is a good way to go. Exploding boobs, yes, exploding boobs. That's RoboCop. Um, I loved the first Mad Max. I loved no bad. I loved Road Warriors. I loved Beyond Thunderdome, and then Fury Road. Fucking loved it. What was that? 2017, 2016. I love it. That's like when I think of some of my favorite action adventure movies. My favorite big time feeling big time action movies. Fury Road is one of the best things I've ever seen. Why did I go from Dune to Mad Max though? I think that's kind of they're not similar in any way. There's what desert. There's sandworms in Dune. I haven't watched it, so I haven't seen it, but it's on my list of ones that I want to watch and I want to. Matter of fact, Jesus Christ, I just bought this. I just bought this for $3. I just bought this. Lincoln was just this last August. I had to do a run to go to the Dollar General to get what power cords or something like that. I don't remember what I needed. I needed something from the Dollar General, and on my way out to the checkout, I saw this sitting there for $3. That's the Dune book, soon to be a major motion picture. Well, it's not soon to be; it is a major motion picture. I bought it, so I've got the book. I want to read this. It looks gigantic, like holy fuck. This is going to be an investment of 900 pages, but I really want to read this. So I have no opinion of Dune. None. I have heard billions and millions of great things about it. When I was a kid, I liked boobs and explosions. Also nerd. So in 2017, this math ain't mathing. No, 2017 is when Dune. What was I talking about? Oh yeah, Fury Road. Sorry, in 2017 was the fourth Mad Max movie. When that came out, it got all my attention. And I know there's movies that are coming out that are like building off of what they built in the '80s. Think of this. Think of the Fury Road. Mad Max Fury Road came out, and it was like all the Mad Max movies came out in the '80s. So like they stopped. There hasn't been a new one forever, but then this new one came out, and that's why I was like, "Holy shit!" That made me want to go back and watch all the Mad Max movies. Made me want to watch Road Warriors, Beyond Thunderdome, and then I got excited for Fury Road, and then it was awesome. Like I love the movie, but the new Dune movie comes out, and it's like, do I go back and read the book? Do I watch the original movie from the '80s? Like I don't know because I've never experienced anything from Dune before. Like I just don't know. I don't know enough about it to really know anything about it. That's unfortunate, but that's where I'm at with it. Um, I would love to get into it. Um, so speaking of movies that are sequels to old ancient movies, I'm going to say '80s is ancient times. Blade Runner 2076, or was it 2047? Whatever it was, is great with Ryan Gosling. Really good. Batista's in it. I think Harrison Ford's in it too. I love the original Blade Runner though. Like I love Blade Runner. I love the video game adaptation on the PC Engine, which of course is called Snatcher, because oh Yuji Yuzo Koshiro. No, that's he's a Yuzo Koshiro is a fuck. Yeah, oh, who is the guy? Oh man, who's the guy who developed and wrote the Metal Gear series? Why can't I think of his name? Anyway, huge Blade Runner fan. Loved the movies and then wanted to make a game based on it, but couldn't get the rights to it. So that's why they made Snatcher. Snatcher was in the Metal Gear universe. So in Snatcher, there's actually a Metal Gear robot. There's a lot of really cool shit in it. But I love Snatcher. I love Blade Runner. Blade Runner's awesome. The new Blade Runner movie was fucking spectacular. I thought it was really well done. And yeah, Fury Road. So it's in the same category as Top Gun Maverick, the 2017 movie, continuation of old popular franchise. Yes. Yes. Funny, I've never seen Top Gun Maverick, but I've heard it's really good. So I'll have to get into that as well. Yeah, I would consider those kind of things like continuation of old popular franchises. Think of the Creed movies. There's a trilogy of Creed movies now. The first Creed, and I'm a big Rocky fan. So when I was in my early 20s and 30s, I would say that Rocky is my Star Wars because I loved Rocky. I loved Rocky Balboa, which is Rocky 6. Creed is Rocky 7. Creed 2 is Rocky 8. And now there's a third Creed, which has nothing to do with Stallone. He's not even in the movie. It's just based purely on Creed, and it's probably the one movie that's about Apollo Creed and the junior and the kid and whatever, and his journey, and nothing to do with Rocky, nothing to do with passing the torch or anything like that. But I really liked I really liked the Rocky series a lot. I don't even know if there's necessarily a bad movie in the series. I would say the only one I was like, mm, it's good, but it's not amazing, is actually two, because I think Rocky two tries to be Rocky one all over again, and it's even the same fight. He's going up to fight Creed again, and it's like he's defending the championship this time, and it's like, and he blows all his money, and just it's like he's back on the streets of Philly, and he's just fucking up his life and whatever. It's not as good as the first one. It tries too hard to be the first one, whereas 3 and 4 try to do something completely different. They're ridiculous, over the top action flicks. 3 was amazing with Mr. T and Hulk Hogan, and then 4 was a 2 hour long montage. So it's so different. I don't think 4 is a great movie either, but a lot of people really dog on 5 too, because 5 was a lower budget, more of a. There wasn't even a big fight at the end of 5. It was like this scene of like a backlot brawl or something. But like, I think I heard so many negative things about 5 that when I finally actually saw 5, I was like, oh, this is way better than 4. Like, it's a matter of fact, it's probably the most well acted Rocky movie out of the last 3. It's better acted than 3 or 4. So it's really good. And then Balboa, which was Rocky 6, is really good. I like that one a lot. It's where he basically comes out of retirement in his late 50s, kind of like George Foreman did. So it's not like it's completely out of this world ridiculous to fight the current champion, who's this young kid in his 20s or whatever, and he puts up a good fight and still loses the battle at the end by a point, whatever. But he never gets knocked out in 10 rounds or something like that. So it's really good. I liked Rocky. I love the Rocky movies. Yeah, I said the acting is better in Rocky 5 than 3 and 4. I wouldn't say the movie is better overall, but if you watch 4 again, and by the way, there's a reason why Stallone just did a re-edit of Rocky 4 with the director's cut, because he needed to re-edit those fucking montage, because the whole movie's a goddamn montage of him working out in Russia. That's all that 4 is like he's like, I'm a Soviet, I'm a strong guy. And then Rocky's like, yeah, I'll defend my belt against this fucking weird unranked Soviet guy. And then Soviet guy's like, well, I'll show you how tough I am. And he kills Creed. And Rocky's like, what? You killed my best friend. And he's like, I'm going to go work out and train in Russia in the snow for 1 hour. And it's going to be a 1 hour montage. And then they do. And then they fight at the end, and Rocky wins. That's the movie. That's the movie. That's 4. I liked it when I was a kid. That's yeah. I watched that movie in history during our Cold War unit. Oh my god, that's amazing. Yeah, oh, that's amazing. Yeah, I really like. 4 was the one that I remember the most. No, I remember 3 the most. Three is like iconic with Mr. T versus Rocky. I love that movie. It's so good. It's so cheesy, but it's great. But I'm glad they went in that direction though, because Rocky 1 and 2, Rocky 1 is a goddamn masterpiece. Like, it's so fucking well written. It's well written, it's well directed, it's well edited. It is a masterpiece of a film. Like, it's so well done. The second one was trying too hard to be just like Rocky 1, whereas I'm glad it went in a campy direction with 3 and 4. And I thought 5 was kind of back to that style with 1 and 2. But it was better acted. It was a better movie. It was a better acted movie than 4. 4 must have had major cultural impacts, like the training sequences from Punch Out is very clearly in reference to it. Yep. If he dies, he dies. Me referring to me before I do something ill-advised. Oh my god, yeah. So that's what I would say. If I was going to rank the Rocky movies, 6 is awesome too, and they don't call it 6; they just call it Rocky Balboa. But 6 is awesome. Like it's a really good movie. And then if you don't count the Creed movies, I think Creed 1 is wonderful. I love Creed 1. Like I think Creed is just as good as the first Rocky movie. I love Creed 1. Creed 2 is pretty good too, but Creed 1 is amazing. If you're not into boxing movies, um, and never thought you'd want to be in a boxing movie or into a boxing movie, I never really thought I'd be much for boxing movies either. But man, I'm not a big boxing fan. How about I say that? I'm not a big boxing fan, but Rocky movies are fucking amazing. Like, yeah, Creed featuring Killmonger. Yeah, right. Yep. Um, but the first Creed, if you like big, well done action sequences, the first Creed does entire boxing matches in one cut. So like they did a roaming. I think it's there's two different fights. They do it very different, very very well done edited sequence in the boxing rings where they're doing everything as they normally do with different camera cut angles, different acting things. You know, you can tell there's like cuts and there's different angles and different directions in terms of like the editing style. But when the boxing match starts, it's one camera shot. They don't switch to the crowd. They don't switch to a long shot of the ring or anything. They do one camera shot that roams around them. Really intricate, like really well done. And it never leaves the action. And so when they're like really boxing at each other, it is one cut that continuously floats around them for entire rounds, like 3 minute rounds of that. And I got so into the first Creed. They didn't do that in 2 or 3, but I loved that style of editing and that style of showing fights because it's like you're in it and you're not getting like a highlight of a boxing match. You're not getting like, oh, a couple big punches in a round 2 fight, you know, and then like 6 seconds later and it shows them both like in the corners like, oh, what's going on, man? You got to get in there and give him a left when he's doing that jab. You got to watch his left cheek because his left cheek's a weak spot. So get him in, you know, like it's real. Like it feels like that 3 minutes, that timer that goes down is a genuine 3 minutes. Like you feel everything of that battle, and it's the first Creed. It's maybe the best of all of them. I don't know. I love Rocky. Rocky 1 is an amazing boxing movie. It's the best boxing series of all time, obviously. As much as people want to talk about Raging Bull and how great that movie is, it is great. It is, but Rocky is fucking amazing, stellar, perfection in certain ways. Until you get to Rocky 4. I'm kidding. I actually loved Rocky 4 when I was a kid, but rewatching it, you know it's not a great movie. You just know it's not. Like it's so campy and so over the top, and the highlights and the montage goes on forever. So, what else can we talk about? You know what else is another big one? What was I just talking about? Oh, fuck, I was talking about we talked about Dune. We talked about Blade Runner. Something else too. You know what's a really amazing original movie and a sequel that have never ever lived up to the hype ever since is Terminator. Terminator has been shit forever. Like it is crazy how no one has been able to make a good Terminator movie since the second one. Nothing. Because there was 1, 2, and 3. 3 is a fucking abomination. It should have never happened. 1 is an amazing horror movie. 2 is a perfect action movie. And then that's it. I would never watch another Terminator anything after that because I believe there was 2 sequels. There's one called Genesis was more recent, and then there was one. So there's original trilogy, and then there's 3 more. That's a trilogy, right? Is that what it is? You guys want to look this up for me? I can't remember for sure because Terminator 1 and 2 happened, and then 3 was a bullshit movie. I actually didn't hate Salvation, but I wanted to like Salvation. I forced myself to enjoy it. It was with Christian Bale and I think the kid who plays Thor. I think the guy who plays Thor. I don't know for sure if that's true, but it's got Christian Bale in it. I actually really didn't hate Salvation at all, and maybe I don't even still hate Salvation. It's so much better than 3 that I didn't hate it because of that. There was some CG Arnold's toward the end of it that was pretty rough, but everything that they've done since then has been really bad. Yeah, Salvation's neat. It's just like it doesn't feel like it's trying very hard to be as good as the first two. It's being something different, and it shows like the war, and it's very, very strong. Like all that stuff from the first Terminator, when you're like, God, it sounds like that was just hell. Like you were being hunted nonstop, and no one survived. You know, like um, how um, how bleak that future is. You got to see more of that in Salvation, and I liked that. It is not living up to the first two, though. It doesn't. It just doesn't. Like the first two are both A movies. The third one's a fucking abomination. It shouldn't have happened. And Salvation's just okay. But wasn't there two sequels after that? Genesis is the most recent one, right? Or am I thinking of something else? But it is bad. It is. Oof. Just fucking why keep this up? Let if James Cameron wants to do another Terminator, he did the first two. And that's all he's ever done, directing wise. If he wants to do another one, sequel into the distant future or a prequel or whatever. If he wants to do one, let him do it. But if he doesn't, don't keep going with them. Stop the Terminator movies because they're just not good. But I don't remember for sure. I kind of feel like there's 6 Terminator movies now, but I can't remember for sure. Anywho,